Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grand Prix before the Grand Prix. You're watching Sim Experience South Africa Formula 1 Saturdays. I'm your commentator, Johan Karinas, and I'll be taking you along for the ride on this historic track of Silverstone. We have 20 drivers from all across South Africa ready to get going. I've seen a lot of them putting in a serious amount of practice, and they're all going to need it. It's flat, flowing, and relentlessly fast, making it the driver's favorite track. Corners like Copse, Beckett, and Stowe test the limits of both human and tire endurance as the car gets loaded with ludicrous amounts of downforce. 5.89 kilometers of circuit and 9th iteration from the original version that was raced in 1950. Average speeds on in excess of 240 kilometers an hour, and top speeds will dip into the 330s. 18 corners, 8 to the left and 10 to the right. Hamilton showing us that the 176 flat is possible in yesterday's qualifying. The circuit had its first Grand Prix in 1950 and is built on the site of an old aerodrome, as you can see. Giuseppe Farina winning the first World Championship Grand Prix year in that same year. Only Monaco and Monza have hosted more F1 Grand Prix than Silverstone. Alright then, so we're off with the start of practice. Currently we've only got a few of the drivers on track. We're currently on board with Rian Overholzer running the Mick Schumacher livery for Haas. So this is actually going to be a very good time to just have a bit of a chat about the drivers themselves. I've had a questionnaire out for a few of them, and the answers that I got were interesting to say the very least. And then as we go into qualifying, at the end of this practice we'll go into qualifying. We've got 20 minutes of qualifying. After that, well, during qualifying we can then talk about the track a bit more, about the specifics and the technicalities of the racing. And then we'll get into the race, which itself is 29 laps. It's going to be fairly short, but for those of you who did watch the sprint qualifying earlier today, I think you've got a little bit more of an appetite for racing today, so we'll be happy to oblige in that regard. So as I'm talking, in front of me I've got Rian Overholzer, so I know this driver on a personal level. He actually drives in a team with me, and he is last season's champion for the Formula F3s of Sim Race South Africa. So he's definitely going to be up there with them. I looked at some of the practice times, and of course this is not representative of all of the drivers, but I do see Rian put in a 128.180, which, considering the fact that we're people who have day jobs and don't race as professionals, it's pretty darn impressive. The only driver to really top him on that is Corne Briet, and we'll get to him in a second, running a 127.69. So some nice competitive times. I think everyone's still kind of getting warmed up on the track itself. But yeah, so Rian is experienced in open wheelers and specifically F3, but I know for a fact he also races a whole host of cars. He's getting involved in Porsche Cup cars, in iRacing. He's done hot lap challenges with the Track Titans people. So definitely very involved in the sim racing scene. Then, looking a bit further, we're going to jump to Gerard Snyman, who seems to be standing still on the circuit. I think he just might not have been very happy with that lap. Looking onto my notes, I'm looking for a very specific gentleman. This one right here. So we're looking at Andre Hildebrand. And he's definitely one of the drivers that stands out for me on this track today. Not based on skill, but just based on the fact that he kind of relates to Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso to me. And you'll also see he's running the livery of Fernando Alonso, the Alpine. And yes, so when I asked them, this gentleman hails from Mpumalanga. I think we've got about, from the people that answered, we've got 4 or 5 of the provinces in South Africa represented. So it's quite a nice diverse group. So he hails from Mpumalanga, and he's been racing slash sim racing since 1995. So I was barely out of diapers when this guy actually started racing, which is really impressive. He's been involved with the race face Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Championship, and he's a friend with a few of the guys on the grid. So yeah, he's also been a fan of racing, watching racing since 1968. So if you can do maths extremely quickly, and I know one of the people in the audience can, then this guy's he's 67 years old, which is in my books very impressive. He's also a big petrol head, so he probably knows a few things about the tinkering with the car suspension. I don't know how he will manage with the settings for the downforce, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he's set up this car for himself. Then someone else that I want to look at as well, if he is on track, and we'll see that in a second, is going to be this gentleman right here. So Mornay Deploy, he's actually one of the people you have to thank for this. So you'll see the lovely opening videos and the skinny media ads and all of that. That's this man's doing. I'm just here talking to a mic and just broadcasting the race. So he's helped facilitate all of this, and I'm really glad he's done it. When he asked me whether I wanted to commentate for this, well, he actually asked me if I wanted to race first, but unfortunately that Sim Race South Africa F3 Championship kept me rather busy, so I told him I'd rather just want to commentate. But yeah, so he set this up for us, and when I asked a few questions to him, he told me one of his strengths is he's a drive back specialist. So I've seen that he's competed in the Aussie V8 Championships from the Sim Experience South Africa, and he's been doing really well. And what he says about the drive back specialist is quite true. It's not just how he views himself, but this man really likes putting a challenge in front of himself and then going for it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this race. Of course, you don't wish that drivers crash out, but you also like to see a bit of action. So I think Mornay will be there in the thick of things. But then another gentleman that is quite a familiar name to me is Corne Breed. So he's the other Aston Martin livery. I just need to check what... Yeah, so Corne is actually running in Lance Stroll's livery. It's a bit difficult spotting the numbers on the cars. So yeah, while it doesn't look like that with him spinning out, he's quite the downforce specialist. So in some of the iRacing South Africa leagues, he's running cars like the LMP2 cars. He's into endurance racing. He's involved with the F3 Championship that we do or that we take part in Sim Race South Africa. So he's been doing a fair bit with anything with wings on it. And yeah, the endurance races he's done, so he's done about 6 24-hour races and about 10 plus 12-hour races. So he's definitely not one that you're going to expect to lose his focus. He might, he's still out in the pit, but yeah, he's going to also be a man to watch. Then another one that I want to talk about, yeah, we'll see if he's on track. So Gideon Jonkers, and where is it? So he's running Sciences livery number 55, and he actually pointed out to me. So when I asked him how long he's been sim racing and racing, he said too long to remember. So he's quite the veteran, and he actually was at a stage of his life where he was practicing about 2 to 3 hours a day, doing thousands of laps of practice. But family responsibilities, and the times that are changing have kind of made this guy a bit more of a weekend warrior. So while he's claiming to be off the pace, it will be interesting to see how he progresses. I think he might actually pick a few things up as the evening progresses, and maybe pick up a few tricks from the other races. Unfortunately, having some connection issues, so let's hope that's not the case, or that's not my computer. But yeah, another gentleman that's answered my questions. I'm trying to see if I can find him on the list here. So Raymond Duggan, and he's running in Yuki Tsunoda's livery, so number 22 for the AlphaTauri, and he hails from Gauteng. So he's been involved with sim racing as long ago as 2017, so slightly recent. He's also been taking part in the sim race South Africa F3 League and some iRacing endurance races. He's big friends with Corne Brett, of course, so I would imagine them running some of those endurance races together. And then also knows Morne Deploy, which explains how he got how he caught wind of this race. And unfortunately, the two AlphaTauris making contact there, so they're probably still getting to know one another a bit. The other AlphaTauri is piloted or driven by Javi Gous, so we'll get to him in a bit of a second. But yeah, so just another word about Gideon Jonkers. No, sorry, Raymond Duggan. I was jumping around. So just another note about Raymond Duggan. This guy, when he started in 2017, I don't know if those of you that are sim racing are used to this, but he actually started with a deck chair in front of his TV. Until some of the guys in the community helped him build his own rig to start racing on. So it's quite interesting to see the places where people start from. Then I skipped Gideon Jonkers, which is unfortunate. And I'll see if I can find him here. I think he might have been... Yeah, he's still in the pits. So I'll just quickly talk to him while we put some other people on screen. And Gideon Jonkers is actually one of the guys from the Netherlands. So big Ferrari... it's not Ferrari, he will kill me for that. He's driving in the Ferrari, but he is a big Max Verstappen fan, with good reason. So it's going to be really interesting to see him on circuits. Next up, who's another one that was kind enough to answer my questions. So Marius van Wyk, from my neck in the woods. So he's from Cape Town, the Western Cape. Been sim racing since 2006. So that's a long while back. And I can imagine he had some really interesting experiences over the years. So he's given me a very, very well put together list of his achievements in the past. So basically he started out with keyboard racing, then switched over to joystick. I can't imagine what sim racing is like with a joystick. But quickly after that bought himself a Logitech Wingman Formula Force wheel. And then competed in 2016 in the FSR series, finished second in the FSR World Series. Then founded Deltec Racing Team, and then with that team entered the FSR series again between 2007 and 2008. Deltec doing very good. So Marius, and then another gentleman I'll jump to, Rand van Westhuizen, and Heinrich. I'm not sure if he's in the race, but they were part of Deltec Racing, kind of competing in various leagues over the years. And then in 2015 he raced in Simrace South Africa and Shadow Racing RSA, and then the overseas GPVWC Formula Challenge Series. So yeah, and up to the current, he's also been competing in a few other leagues, and he's 58 years of age. So also one of the more experienced, well, I say experienced, he is experienced in racing, but also one of the more experienced racers out here in terms of let's say he'll be able to handle his patience a lot better, maybe not stay as hot-headed. We do have younger drivers here, so it's going to mix things up and make it very interesting. Then Rian van der Westhuizen, who was in the team with Marius van Wyk. He's also been sim racing since 2004. So didn't jump to him. Marius is unfortunately in the pits, so he's driving with George Russell's number 63. Then Rian van der Westhuizen, who's also in the pits, and we can't see his car right now. He's driving the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. So I'll jump to their cars in a little bit, but he's been driving with Marius van Wyk. And yeah, kind of followed with him there. Also, wow, I've missed this the first time. So he actually started karting when he was younger, and then he actually raced man racing trucks on Kyalami, among other racing commitments. I think that's real life racing experience, so that is something quite unique, and well done to you. We also have Atinach. I'll see if I can find him on track, and it's going to be a bit confusing because his name on the server suggests that he's Gijsbert Nagel, but his nickname is Atti. So that, yeah, he's going to be a bit of a difficult one to refer to. He's driving in the number 4 of Lando Norris. So I know Lando has a YouTube channel called Quadrant, which is kind of confusing because there's 5 people that form the channel. But of course it's from his number 4. So Ati is actually a bit more of a tin top specialist. He drives GT3s. So this is going to be a bit of a different experience for him. I mean, a lot of the fundamentals still apply, but downforce does make a big difference in this game. And of course, we not only have downforce, but we also have ERS management that comes into play. We've got the DRS that you can utilize on the straights if you're following within 1 second of a driver. So it's going to be a few new things for him, but we wish him all of the best. And then a man that I've kind of left out a bit, also a big figure in Sim Experience South Africa, is Dennis Mitchell. So he's currently in the thick of it for the battle for the lead of the Aussie V8 series that they're running at Sim Experience South Africa. And he's got a wealth of experience. So he's been sim racing since the 90s, specifically Geoff Craman's F1. And he's taken part in Sim Experience South Africa, SSRL, SRAC. So a lot of different leagues in the South African community. He knows most of the guys on the grid. So it just shows that he's been moving around. And then I can't verify which is on sim racing and which is in real life. So I think some of this is actually real life racing. He's taken part in the Superbike 2001 World Championship. He's a regular hot lap leader board attendee, so that would be sim racing, I assume. And then runs at the front in the SRAC GT and Formula cars. Took part in multiple South African Formula Razor Championships at Shadow Racing. So that would have been one where Marius van Wyk and Rian van der Westhuizen competed. He's a mini challenge champion at Sim Race Africa, so that's another African league kind of running within the Namibian guys. And he was also a Naisna Simola Esports 2021 finalist. So I didn't jump to him, which I do apologize for. So let's see if I can find him. Where is Dennis? Might not be on the server. So It might seem that some of the guys are having equipment failures, so that's a pity that he's not here tonight. But yeah, so he's done quite a bit. Another interesting thing is his grandfather is one of the 6 founders of the Killarney Raceway. So it's starting to feel like a very, very small world. Other drivers that didn't complete my survey, but that I do know, is Ruben Creer. So he also races in a team with me. Well, in one of the sister teams. So I'm in one of the satellite teams, and he's in one of the core teams. So Ruben Creer is also a F3 specialist. He does a lot of practice with that. So he's definitely going to look solid in these cars. He's also friends with Rian Overholzer, so I would imagine that there's some setup sharing that's happening between these drivers. I do know Jovan Oosthuizen in the other Haas car. He was nice enough to pick Nikita Mazepin's livery. Said he didn't want to do that to Rian Overholzer, so you can just see the respect between those teammates. So he also knows Rian Overholzer, actually raced in his team, his direct teammate, in the last season for the F3 Sim Race South Africa GP Championships. So a lot of these guys know each other quite well, and that's the nice thing about the sim racing community is, if you make a good name for yourself, there's always going to be recognition all around. But yeah, as we're looking at the times that are going in during practice, I see that we've got 2 drivers now sitting in the 27s. So Ruben Creer actually also joining Corné Breed. And Corné Breed not able to top his time from the previous practice, but doing very well. Rian Overholzer also dropping into the 27s. So it's looking very good for the upcoming race. I'm pretty excited. While I'm looking around at this, I'm just going to swap a few of my screens around and look at the commentary. So I see Timo actually wanted to say hi. So Timo, if you're still around, I'll quickly pull you in. And then we can maybe go through qualifying together. I'll do that through the ad break just after practice. And then maybe you might have some dirt on some of the guys. I see Dennis Mitchell also joined the server now, so that is good news for me. So he's running the Alfa Romeo and of Kimi Räikkönen. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do here. He's been practicing his Tinsoft V8s. As I said, with the downforce car, it's a whole nother ball game. Of course, they've been catching some tips from the F1 earlier today and qualifying yesterday. So I'm hoping that everything goes well for them. So yeah, 2 minutes to go, and then we've got 20 minutes of qualifying. If you are on the YouTube channel, then I would highly recommend that you maybe say hi. Maybe say who you're shouting for. It's always interesting to see which fans are joining. If it's family members, wives, significant others of some kind, or even just friends. It's always nice seeing the people shouting their friends along. But yeah, another note, so in the bottom left for qualifying, you'll see there's a performance delta window. That should indicate to you how a driver is performing based on their time, so on their previous times. So on the outlaps, it's not really going to matter, but as you can see now with Dennis Mitchell, you can see whether he's slower through some of the sectors, whether he's faster. So that's going to be a great tool for us during the qualifying. I do also have some of the tire information handy on one of my other screens. So hopefully we can also keep an eye on the pit stops as they start happening during the race. Just a quick note, drivers are forced to use both compounds available to them. So they've got the C2 and C3 compounds available. The C3 is this one that Dennis is running right now. So it looks like the F1 hard tire, but they call it the soft in this game, just because they don't have the advantage that Pirelli has of renaming the tires at every single race. And then the C2 is a medium, although it's got the white wall of the hard tires. So drivers are forced to use both of those in the race, and the fastest one they qualify on is going to be the one that they use for the race start. So that's also going to affect their decisions when it comes to strategy and their qualifying. So I'll quickly jump us to an ad, and then we'll be back as soon as we can. I'll just maybe give a bit more time for the guys on track to get in, and then from there you'll see me shortly. welcome back everyone. So unfortunately we were not able to get Timo on board. I think he's having some technical difficulties. And everyone's heading out for their outlaps. So we're ready to get going with the action. And we'll maybe stick with the oldest gentleman on the pack. So Kyle Heidemann. Oh, sorry, no, he's not the oldest one. I'm thinking of someone else now. Just get my notes sorted. So Kyle's actually one of the two Heidemanns on the grid. We've got Scott and Kyle. I was thinking of Andre Hildebrand being the oldest on the grid. But yeah, so Kyle running in Bottas's livery for the Mercedes. And we'll see where he comes across on the line in a fair bit. He's just going around Cops now, going into Maggots, Beckett's, and then Chapel, or the Maggots-Beckett's complex as it's known, and then down the Hangar Straight. So it's very essential through that sequence of corners that you get everything sorted for your exit onto the main straight. Through Stowe into Vale, this is also a very tricky section of the track. You really need to be careful that you don't step out the rear of the car and slide into the wall on the outside of Club. So across the line, and immediately I'm still waiting on the timing screens. But yeah, I apologize about that. We'll see where his times come out in the meantime. So what I think he's done is a 1:31.038. I have that on all of my additional data sources. So that's kind of going to be in the middle of the pack. Then Ruben Courier coming in with a 1:27.721. So that's going to put pressure on Corne Breer to put in a very, very solid lap. I think Ruben is just backing off now and just charging up the batteries again. So Corne Breer actually still on a bit of a slow lap, it would seem. It doesn't say outlap, but his sector times are behind. So we'll still see where that ends him up. Apologies. Someone else that I really want to look at as well is Grant Wilberholzer, but he's not on track yet. That explains, so my timing screens froze. There we go. So we've got the results on screen for you now. So Ruben Courier leading qualifying so far with a very solid 1:27.721. Raymond Duggan with a 1:28.882, and then Corne Breer, the man right here on screen, running a 1:29.706, and then we go into the 1:30s from there. So still a lot of drivers to put in their times, and we do have quite a few of them piling out now. If you look behind Corne Breer, then you'll see a string of cars coming along. So you'll see Dirk Brandt here. He's one of the replacements for tonight, and he's standing in. I just need to check my notes. So Dirk Brandt is standing in for Dani van Rooyen, and I know Dirk is also one of the F3 drivers from Sim Race South Africa. He's been competing at the middle of the pack for Division 1 last season, and he's just been promoted to Division 1 again. So he's also a very serious racer to contend with. Running in Max's number 33. So we'll definitely keep an eye on him as well. So, someone that I wanted to have a look at is Andre Hildebrandt. And they're running with his teammates in the background. So he's teammates with Ruben Creer. And just graciously gives Ruben the position on track, knowing that his teammate is the faster one on the track. So it's nice to see these guys playing working together quite nicely. So almost half of qualifying done. We only have 8 of the drivers setting times on the board. We do have 18 of the drivers in the service, so I can imagine a lot of them just are pushing the tires a little bit too far. I also see an interesting thing happening with the compounds. So this compound that we've got right here on screen with us with Hildebrandt, that is the C3 compound, so that's the softer one of the compounds. And I see people like Corne Breed running the C2s. So we'll just wait until his car comes into view, or maybe we'll go on board with him. So you'll see the white walls of the medium tires. I know it sounds like a mistake, but it's not really. So he's not on a fast lap yet. You can see him just giving some space for the other drivers to come through. So we might as well just stick with him. He's going to be preparing for a fast lap now. Just lining up his car through Vale. Not exactly sure why he's slowing down like this. Maybe just give himself a nice bit of clean air. Spinning the wheels up, getting a bit of temperature into them. And off we go. So, flat out into Abbey. This is going to be almost a flat out. Yeah, and completely flat through there. Farm curve into Village Corner. Now this is a very tricky braking zone. It's very easy to overshoot. Into the loop, also a very difficult corner. Very easy to overshoot onto the grass or get a very bad exit. You can see that's not the case for Corne Breed as he goes along the Wellington Straight. Looking very good on his time. 2/10 down into Brooklands. Now this is a very tricky complex right here. So this is Luffield. You need to almost have a double apex, as you can see him taking here through Woodcock. Not really a corner to pay attention to. Now through Cops, also flat out, very scary corner when you're low down, and that is looking very solid indeed. Right, here we go. Maggots and Beckett's. You need to just manage your speed for the exit. Make sure the Chapel doesn't take too much of your speed. Down the hanger straight, he's still 1/10 down on his time. Not enough to go reach towards Creer, but he might need to start getting out of the way of some of the other drivers whilst they hook up their laps. Right, into Vale. This is going to be very critical. We saw Hamilton spinning out his rear during qualifying through club, so a very solid 1:27.603, so he can be very happy with that. It's still 4/10 of Ruben Creer's time, but it's still a very solid time and probably good enough for the front row of the grid. So, yeah, it's looking good. Raymond Duggan sitting comfortably in, well, not comfortably, but he's sitting in fourth at the moment. I would imagine drivers like Overalzer will be looking at just getting that extra bit of time. I'm actually going to go to Overalzer and see what he's been doing. So he's also on a kind of a preparation lap. So you can see they're getting caught off guard there by the Alfa Romeo driver. And that might have put a bit of a damper on his start for the lap. So as you can see, a bit slow through the first portion of the course. And yeah, he's going to abandon the lap. I think he might have gotten caught out by the car overtaking him.
Hi, Johan.
Hey, and we have Timo with us on air. Welcome so much. Well, I think it's Timo. Let me just double check.
Yeah, it's me.
So yeah, welcome. I see you're not racing tonight, so you're sticking to your practice for the Aussie V8s tomorrow. But what do you think about the racing tonight? Is it a nice little surprise now that we've had that little appetizer from the F1 sprint race?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's, if you look at the timing, I think it's absolutely excellent. If you look at the what we can expect for this weekend in real life racing versus what we have in the virtual life. And if you look at these drivers, absolutely, the talent-wise, these guys are quick, eh? I'm trying to sort of engage in terms of the V8 series. I'm looking at the names and who I know and who I do not know, but if I look at the times, it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to the racing tonight.
Yeah, it's and as you spoke about the V8 guys, I see Dennis Mitchell there jumping into second with a 127.5. So that is quite fast when it comes to the times that we've seen in practice. I think the fastest we saw was from Corne Beard being a 127.693. So we're definitely getting some of the better times out here. Did you try a few laps in the car on track, or are you not too much of a downforce man?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's all about time. You know, if you have enough time during the week to practice, obviously that helps a lot. But at this point in time, I'm focusing on the V8 series. As you know, with Sim Experience SA, it's extremely challenging, especially with Mitchell and Donny van Rooyen. That's leading and second in the championship. So I'm trying to focus in sort of trying to give them a bit of a challenge. But I mean, these cars that the guys are driving tonight is insane. Like you mentioned, with the extreme downforce, Silverstone being an absolute classic. And if you look at the times, I mean, 127.2, 127.5, 127.6, that's already a lot faster than what we've seen in practice. So yeah, if you would like to compete with these guys, it's not a jump in and compete type of situation. You need to practice and you need to be good. So yes, if I had the time, I would have liked to sort of challenge the guys, but I don't think I would have been right at the top. So fast guys out there.
Yeah, definitely. I see Corne Beard also topped his time, so he reclaimed a front row position for himself, 127.4. And I also see a few drivers a bit more to the middle of the pack. They are definitely going to be on a charge if they don't get a fast lap in now. Ahead of the Grand Prix, you told me you had a little bit of dirt on Dennis Mitchell. Anything interesting that you can give us from your perspective?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. No, that was just sort of a poking around, you know, sort of to make a bit of fun of the event. But no, he's such an absolute joy of a guy to sort of just chat about racing. You know, he's an actual racer. I mean, he rode super bikes and he's got actual racing experience versus me. I mean, I'm just a gamer and I love racing and I sort of do the same thing, but to interact with guys that's got actually, you know, racing experience in real life is just amazing. He's shared set up sort of skills with me and where to tweak and where not to tweak, and he just keeps on giving and sharing, and that's, for me, that's amazing. I love the guy because he shares that, and I think because of that, the community is going to keep on growing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and to me, that's also what makes sim racing a very special thing. I know with my involvement with the LLC teams, so that would be Rian Oberholzer, Ruben Kreur, our current pole setter, and then Jovan Oosthuizen, and it's, I mean, they do try and help the beginners along and kind of help you advance into a better driver. And it's also just nice having that sense of belonging. I mean, it's always fun racing with guys, and while still taking the wins seriously, but just having enjoyment in the battles on track and really realizing where the joy of racing really comes from. So it's that's quite a nice thing. So I see you're also just keeping an eye on everyone on track. So you're welcome to join me for the rest of the session. I'll give a few gaps for you to have a bit of a chat, and then we'll see where we go. So as we're talking, I see Rian Oberholzer diving into the 127s. So this is quite good. We've got 4 different drivers in the 127s, and positions 2, 3, and 4 are very close together. That's looking really good from Dennis Mitchell, Corne Breed, and Rian Oberholzer. I'm not sure what Ruben Krier did with his lap, but he must have had some access to Lewis Hamilton's telemetry from the qualifying session. So yeah, 2 minutes to go. The drivers should get back on track for those that are currently sitting in the pits if they do want to get a last lap in. I'm going to try and see if I can find someone that's on a hot lap at the moment. And so, okay, we can stick with Corne Breed that will be fighting for position. So, Timo, I want to ask, have you driven at Silverstone yet? Or have you not really ventured onto the track itself yet? I think we might have lost Timo. So, we'll maybe just jump in on board with Corne Breed and have a look at his lap. So down the old pit straight into Cops. Currently has another driver in front of him, so that might be costing him a little bit of his time. And yes, it's definitely going to cost him. I hope that driver's okay. So you can see Maggots and Beckett's not being very forgiving when it comes to driving on the curbs. Remember, these cars need to run very close and low to the ground to really make that downforce work. So unfortunately, Corne is going to abandon that lap, and we'll jump around and see who we can find. So Bert Sneeman down the hanger straight, kind of catching up with his time a bit. And we'll see whether he finds some time in the F Rouvel. And unfortunately, one of the Ferraris having a violent spin. Bert Sneeman finding some time in Vel. I think he might have had a bit of a hot entry, which, as you can see, cost him a lot of time. And that's going to be the critical part, is how you compromise your corners. Okay, so only a few more drivers left on track. Dirk Brandt on the bubble, so this is going to be crucial for him to see if he can move up in the grid. So he's moving through the back part of the circuit, so through Woodcott, the old pit straight, and then into Cops. So this is normally where you can really gain some time. Right, through the Maggots and Beckett's complex. And I think that might have been a bit of a fast entry for Beckett. He's made it work. He's got a good exit onto the hanger straight, so you can see his delta is coming down. And now it's all going to depend on how he takes the line through Stowe. So unfortunately running wide, so that's going to discard his lap, and he's straight into the pits. And that's going to be the last driver for qualifying. So your grid: Ruben Krier, Dennis Mitchell, Corne Breed, Rian Oberholzer, Gideon Jonkers, Raymond Duggan, Sneeman, Crook, Monet de Plooi, Oosthuizen, Heidemann, Brandt, Nagel, Stander, Van Wyk, Van der Westhuizen, Gous, and Hildebrand. So we'll jump to a quick ad break while the engineers get the cars onto the grid, and then I'll see you after that. Right, and we're back. So the cars are ready for the race. We're on the grid. I see a few of the drivers already revving their engines. While that's happening, I'm just going to quickly try and jump to the front of the grid. So ready to get going. We've got Carreras sitting in front of Dennis Mitchell. Lights are out and away we go. So Carrera getting a very good start. Dennis Mitchell on the inside. He's going to want to defend his position and actually looks to take the position, but not really. Few cars going wide. We've got 3 cars off at the back there. We'll see the timing screen once everything's up. But the 2 front runners getting away quite nicely. Rian Overall chasing Dennis Mitchell and also his teammate Ruben Carrera. Well, teammate from one of the other series. Behind them, Corné Breet running in 4th. Doing very well with his start. Gideon Jonkers also moving up in the back quite nicely. Back to the front. So Dennis Mitchell still in 2nd. Front runners just keeping in touch with one another. Back further. So we've got Mornay Deploy. He's going to look for a move here on Raymond Duggan. Raymond Duggan seeming to be one of the guys that had a bit of an off. Unfortunately, Mornay is going to have to use his skills of drive backs, so he's going to have to recover from that accident right there. then at the front. So there's Mitchell coming under pressure and running Ruben Creer coming under pressure and running defensively from Dennis Mitchell. Dennis just making sure that he's in touch, but not touching, and make their way around for the first lap. So Rian Oberholz are also coming into the mix. We don't have DRS as of yet, by the looks of things. So Rian just tucking in behind Mitchell. So we've got the notification saying the pits are open from the second lap. We do have mandatory pit stops, and it's going to force you to take the other compound. So, oh, and this is interesting. So Mitchell coming up on the inside here of Brooklands and then Luffield, so making the move stick on Creer. And Creer is going to be facing some pressure from Rian Oberholzer in a little bit of time if he's going to be dropping back in pace like that. Down at the back, we've also got all kinds of moves happening. So Ati Nagel making the move on Hildebrand, one of the other cars. So that's Rian van der Westhuizen spinning out. And then Dirk Brandt also looking here at James Crook. Staying very close, or as close as you can with these cars in terms of the downforce from the dirty air. Right, into Stowe. Both of the two Red Bulls. Into Val, it's going to be interesting to see who can manage their exit speed quite well and then see what they can do through Club Corner. But I think that gap has opened up a little bit too much. Some nice fast lap times coming in from the pack leaders. There's Mitchell opening up the gap to Ruben Creer. Ruben Creer now within striking distance of Weberholzer. And behind Weberholzer we've got Gideon Jonkers and Corné Breert also duking it out. So the front of the gap, the front of the front runners of the race are definitely sticking together and fighting it out. Although I think Dennis Mitchell is enjoying a little bit of clean air in amongst all of the action. You see Brandt and Crook also swapping positions there. And we go down the old main, or the old pit straight through Cops. And a very nice exit there for Jonkers. That's not going to be enough to really put him in contention for putting pressure on Rian Oberholzer. You can definitely see that Oberholzer is feeling a bit of pressure at the moment. And Jonkers just looking for a move on the inside. Come very close together, touching side by side. But they thankfully don't run each other off track. So some really, really close racing. And we're very fortunate not to have those two cars off into the barriers. So into Abbey we go. Rian's opened up a bit more of a gap. I think Jonkers got a bit of a scare from it. Into Village Corner. So he's starting to chip away at that gap again. But behind him, Corné Breert is hungry for another position. A little bit too hungry as he overcooks the throttle. And nicely recovers onto the Wellington straight. That's giving Raymond Duggan the advantage to charge on through. And it's going to take off the pressure on Jonkers. So that's going to open Jonkers' race up to put a bit of pressure on Weberholzer again. Back further down the pack, Mornay Deploy on the drive back, pressuring Ati Nagel down the Hanger straight. No, sorry, the Wellington straight into Brooklands. And a very nice move there from Deploy as he charges on through to recover his position from earlier. Then Weberholzer is also getting closer to Ruben Creer. And you can see him just slowly chipping away at the time. Talking about the different race runners, so I see Weberholzer is actually running the C2s. So I'm wondering what his strategy is right here. I didn't check what tires he did his fastest lap on in qualifying, but assuming he did it on these, and that might have meant, or that would have been why he took so long to actually get a very solid time in. But he might be going long for a longer stint here. So one thing of note, the pits, the mandatory pits do allow you to refuel. So that's going to mean that not only can you look at doing an undercut, but you can do an overcut since your car is going to be lighter at the end of your stint. And that's going to mean that you can really start pushing those tires near the end, even though they're busy degrading. So it's definitely going to depend on him doing some solid lap times. I know that from my data, the medium grip for the C2s is probably going to last about 19 laps. So that's right in the ballpark for a strategy like that. For the guys running on the medium, it's going to be 12 laps. So in about 6 to 7 laps, we might see some people diving into the pits.
Yeah, Johan, just to chip in there, it's quite interesting. I'm having a look at the live timing sim experience SA here, and if I look at the tire compound, we have C3 for Dennis Mitchell as well as Ruben Creer. Ruben Oberholzer, sorry, is running a C2, as well as Raymond Duggan and Corne Breed, while we have Gideon Jonkers on a C3. So yes, tire strategy and fuel definitely going to play a major role in this race.
Yeah, and we know for a fact that Silverstone can be rougher on tires. I mean, there's a lot of downforce coming into play, a lot of pressure being put on the tires. I'm just going to keep an eye here on Raymond Duggan having a bit of a battle with Gideon Jonkers. So that's going to be the interesting thing, is who can make these tires work, because it doesn't help you do a long stint, but your tires are rubbish by the end of it.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about the driving style, and keeping things tight. So yes, it's going to be great to see how these guys are going to manage those tires.
So it does seem like Rian is actually having to give a position here to Jonkers for that exact reason. You can't really battle, although he's zoomed fast on the brakes. That must have caught Jonkers off guard. I don't know how he managed that into Vale. That's probably the latest braking I've ever seen, so I'm really glad we caught that. But some brilliant racing from these drivers. Unfortunately, Jonkers running wide there. I think he might have been caught off guard by Rian defending his positions there. Raymond Duggan also looking for an opportunity here. Jonkers running deep, so the battle is continuing down the straight, neck and neck. We've also got Corne Breed looking behind him, so this is 3 cars in the mix. So, and unfortunately, Duggan hooks the front tires and swings around the front, so he's going to lose positions from that. You can also see Dirk Brandt now recovering in 5th position. Just also wants to jump to the back, so not to the back, but to the middle of the pack. We've got Marius van Wyk also putting pressure here on Gert Seinman, but just dropping back a bit as I jump to him. So I'm going to go up further into the pack. When I deploy, moving up on the inside of Crook. What a beautiful move through Cops. I just needs to stay ahead through Maggots and Beckett's, and you can just see how he's opening up that gap. So that's that drive back skills that they mentioned. It's just getting your head down, focusing on what's ahead, not really thinking about what you expected the race to be, but making sure that you keep your expectations realistic and not overdrive the car and force even more mistakes. So
absolutely, yes. and if I look at the qualification, I mean, Dirk Brandt he qualified in 12th and he's now in 6th place, and that's just the consistency, putting your head down, just putting in those laps, and yeah, that's the reward. So hope he can continue on that. I've raced personally against Dirk Brandt. He's an amazing driver. So let's see if he can continue with this.
Yeah, it's good you mentioned it because it completely slipped past me. But yeah, that's a very, very good start for him then. So Crook is still staying in touch with Mornay, but just off the back, you see one of the Aston Martins going off there. So that's going to be either Mornay deploy, and yeah, that is Mornay dropping down in the standings. So unfortunately, just stepping the car out on Brooklands. Gideon Jonkers still wanting to take the position from Rian and managing to do so through Stowe, and now he's just pulling it in Vale. But I do think, I just need to check, but Gideon is running the faster tyre, so I think Webberholzer is allowing him to kind of wear out his tyre here and just biding his time, because he knows he has to play the long game. He knows he's going to have a faster tyre near the end of the race. So he's just making sure that he stays in touch with the pack as they come past one of the back markers who unfortunately seems to be having connection issues.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Johan. If I look at the C2 tyre choice, maybe they're just saying, that's my race. I'll execute my strategy. You do your thing, I do my thing, and let's see how it ends.
Definitely, and I think Rian might be having a bit of fun with him because the two cars are to and fro. So he might be goading him into kind of burning out his tyres a bit faster than he might want to. Another one of the Ferraris is off, so that's going to be Honey's Thunder, unfortunately, losing a few places. Although he's at the back of the pack, so just having a bit of a rough time. Still, these are extremely difficult cars to drive, especially in the low speed corners. I think high speed, the downforce is going to help you, but low speed wise, that's what makes these cars tricky, is just getting on that power early. And we see Jonkers diving into the pits, so Rian Overall's plan might be working out for him. That's 10 laps in. That might be a bit of an early pit for the medium tires. Now it all depends on Webberholzer to put in one monster of a lap and kind of utilize this clean air that he's got in front of himself now. So we'll sit on board with him a bit and see how he does. I'll also just keep an eye on the pack if there's anything interesting happening around us. But this is looking very good for Rian. Slightly slower than his Delta, but we do need to consider that he's got no drop in front of him, and he does still have race fuel on, so it's not a case of...
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. I see Briet just did a magnificent lap time. He did a purple, so he's definitely pushing it.
Yeah, I think Briet might also... Yeah, is Briet also on the... Yeah, he's on a C2, so the hard runners are now realizing this is the opportunity with some of the cars starting to pit. I do only see one of the first 10 places has pitted so far. So we're still waiting for the rest of the pack to pull the trigger. But I can imagine some of them might be thinking about whether it might be a wise thing to go into the pits. Rian Webberholzer just making sure he keeps a nice, neat lap. Also something peculiar that I just want to note based on his driving. So if you look at his hands here going into Village Corner, he's very aggressive on the turn-in, but somehow makes it work with his tyres. I don't know, Timo, is that a bit unorthodox to you, or what do you think?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult for me to commentate. Look, I'm coming from the Aussie V8s, which is obviously a totally different situation. So I would not like to comment on that. I can comment one thing though, and that is that these cars are not easy to drive. You do have the extreme high downforce, but you do have that power as well, with the DRS and the ERS as well, as far as I understand. So you do have a lot of power that you need to sort of manage throughout the lap, in order to put in the fastest lap that you can.
Yeah, and the other thing that I haven't really had too much time to play around with, so I see Westhuizen kind of letting one of the cars by. I think that might be a front runner. I didn't see any move on the time board. So that is the tricky thing with these cars. You still need to manage your energy usage as well. Wibberolls are overtaking Kuro, who's pitted, so he now needs to really charge on ahead and open up that gap for his own pit stop. Mitchell running very long on the C3s. So yeah, you need to also manage how you're using your energy in your car. These cars do have a hybrid engine, and they have about it's probably around more 150 to 200 horsepower that they kind of can deploy through energy that's harvested from braking and coasting at the end of straights and into corners.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just about driving or seeing what's in front of you or trying to manage the gap behind you. It's about when do I, deploy my DRS? When do I deploy my harvested energy? So yeah, it's a constant focus. You can't. If you for 1 second you lose concentration, sorry, you're off the track. So amazing for Mitchell to lead by, well, at this stage, 15 seconds. Okay, I'm not sure who's pitted, who is not, but at this point in time, Mitchell is running away with it. He's pitting now.
Yeah, so there's, I think it's 3 cars in the pits now. So all of the C3 runners now realizing that the tires have really reached their prime or past their prime, and they will be looking at swapping those out for the harder compound, and then stretching it out to the end of the race. But as you said, that is one massive lead that Mitchell has pulled. And I see Wibberolls are also jumping into the pits. A slightly strange move for him given his strategy. But it might be...
Yeah, I believe... Sorry, Johan, I believe they you cannot choose the same compound whilst... Yeah, when you go in for your pit, right? You need to choose a different compound, as far as I understand.
Yeah, you have to choose a different compound. So that's a bit puzzling why he's pitted so early. But we'll look here now. So Heidemann charging on through the pack, overtaking Crook. I'm struggling to keep the cars in check here just to see who's who. Crook regaining his position from Heidemann as they go through the Wellington Straight. Alpine making sure he stays out of the way, so that's probably one of the back markers with the blue flag. Oh, and unfortunately that's Cook basically cooking his tires as he spins out, and Heidemann doing a superb job of avoiding that incident. And that could have been a race-ending collision right there. So, 13 laps in. Britt is leading the race and is still yet to pit. So, it's going to be interesting to see how far you can stretch these tires and whether it's actually possible to stretch your hard tires for this long, because something that I failed to mention, the track temperature is sitting at a nice toasty 35 degrees Celsius, so not as hot as the real world F1, and the ambient temperature is sitting at 25 degrees Celsius, so that's definitely adequate cooling for the car's radiators, but I think the tires might be suffering through these corners. So Brett overtaking one of the back markers there and just charging on ahead. Also see Ati Nagel in the pits. So he'll be swapping out his tires for a fresh pair. And Ruben Kruger now looking at maybe putting some pressure on Raymond Duggan. So in the Alpine livery, we've got Kruger. And you can see both him and Duggan catching up to Mitchell there in the Alfa Romeo. So Dennis is actually running in Kimi Räikkönen's livery there. Definitely a very, very well celebrated F1 hero. Now
Yeah, I can comment on that. He's actually the Iceman as well. I've raced a few races with Dennis, and he's just you cannot intimidate that guy. You can put pressure on him. He's just cool as ice.
Speaking of being the Iceman, Dennis Mitchell just showing Raymond Duggan how it's done through Abbey, just making sure to defend the corner nice and hard, and that's unfortunately sent Duggan into a spin as he overcommitted to that corner. So now Kruger has free range here on Dennis Mitchell. We'll see what the Iceman can do here against the F3 driver. So,
Johan, there's quite a battle between Brandt and Heidemann. Brandt overtook Heidemann, and Heidemann took it back again. So I'm not sure what happened there.
thank you for that one. So, unfortunately, I think Heidemann might have gotten off. Oh no, yeah, he's gotten off from that battle there. Up on the inside, Ruben Kruger, is he going to have the speed to make this move stick? As Mitchell carries the speed through the outside, he's regained the line for Vale. Unfortunately, running very deep. So now Kruger moves on along, and Mitchell, making sure that he doesn't make contact there, has to fall back in behind. Another one of the back markers up ahead. So we've got a few of them now coming into play. So this is going to complicate things for the front runners. And
yeah, just to mention there for Kruger and Mitchell, that's fantastic driving, guys. That's not easy to maintain that and not to run into each other. That's fantastic to see.
Definitely, and you could actually see through club Mitchell realizing that he's lost the corner and backing out of that battle, making sure to rather hold onto his position and then live to fight another day. I think that's kind of a very mature way of approaching your racing.
Yeah, that's beautiful to see. Preserve that battle, guys. That's what sim racing is about. Well done.
I'm going to look around. I see Heidemann is diving into the pits. And then Mitchell is also slightly struggling to keep up with Kruger. And both of them having pitted. So the only people that still need to pit is this man right here. And unfortunately, having some difficulties with the back markers. That's slightly frustrating for him. But yeah, so Corné Breed still needs to pit. It's been hanging out on those tires for 16 laps. Then James Cook also still on his original tires, which is the softs. So
yeah, I have to mention, sorry, Björn Oberholzer just did a fastest sector 3 of the entire race, so he's definitely right up there.
I think he's realized that he's got the grip in these tires now, and I think he looks a lot happier with the tires he currently has. And considering what's been going on around him, he's still in a very happy position. I think he's just going to be forced to really save up some of that tires life for the end of the race. But he can still make it work. Then looking further around. So we've got James Crook now pitting as well. So he's finally had enough of his tyres, and it's right about the mark that we want to see the hard runners coming in with their tyres as well. Rian Wibberholzer setting a fastest middle sector, so he's flying.
I was just about to say, he's got a 38.466 in Sector 2. So he's pushing it. So Kruger, Brett, guys, you need to focus. Oberholzer's there. Right? He's going to give you guys a go.
And I can imagine he'd be trying to give Kirier a go. Actually going to just have a quick look and see. I do know that some of these drivers sit on Discord chatting with one another, and I can see all three of the LLC drivers in contact with each other. Yeah, they're probably well aware of where they are on track and how each other's races are going. So that can be a good and a bad thing in this situation, but I think they're having a ton of fun. So Dirk Brandt kind of having a bit of a race on his own here in no man's land. And just making sure that he gets some good lap times in.
Absolutely, it's all about consistency, and like I said, Dirk is an absolute consistent driver. I would like to mention Marius van Wyk and Rian van der Westhuizen as well. They're running 14th and 16th at this point in time. They also drive or ride in the V8, so they're just keeping it on track, pushing, and they're giving it the all. And I would like to congratulate them for still being in the race. I mean, it's 19 laps. These cars are absolutely a beast to drive. So well done for them to still being in the race and pushing.
Yeah, definitely. I see again, Rian Wibberholzer are topping the fastest Sector 3 time. He was also just flying past the screen here in front of us, I think. So Duggan diving into the pits. But yeah, so that's the big thing about being a sim racer. You really need to push yourself, because mistakes are going to happen, and then picking yourself up after these mistakes is one of the most difficult things ever.
Definitely. I mean, shame, man. We've got a DNF on Stander. I think that's Donnie Stander. He's so committed. He's got family responsibilities and all of that. It looks like he dropped out. I have to mention Harvey House as well. He's a regular driver in the V8 Supercars Championship that we have. He's an absolute blast to drive with, and what a gentleman driver. He's still in the race, so yeah, go for it, Harvey.
Yeah, I've also seen the determination in the V8 series. Sorry that I got a bit echoey there. So we saw Crook unfortunately spinning off there in Vale. And just shows again, as I said, these cars are quite squirrely under acceleration when you're trying to get the power down. The field is slightly spread out, although James Crook is coming under pressure here from Gert Seidman. Sorry. Seidman looking around the outside, making the pass with the... I don't think he had DRS open there, but coming past with some amazing pace into left field, just parking it on the apex.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Well done.
So now Simon just moving away, and Crook has to then look at another opportunity. Closest battle is these two gentlemen right here. So Simon really wants to hold on to this position. You see one of the cars going off behind him. So not really close enough to make much of a difference. Maybe close enough to catch a bit of a draw. I think James Crook might be dropping back slightly according to my timing screens.
Yeah. So, Johan, if you look at the tire compound, C2 versus C3, which is the one with more grip? Is it C2?
So C2 is the mediums and C3 is the softs. And
Oh, that's extremely interesting because we've got Corne Brett and Ruben Creer currently running C2s, and Rian and Des, as well as Raymond, running C3s. So I would like to see how that ends up. And as I say that, we've got Raymond Duggan in Sector 2 having a 38, sorry, 38.8, which is quite a fast Sector 2 time. So I would like to see how that is going to end up.
yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. I just wanted to mention, now that we were talking about everyone and the tires, so Corne Briet on the C2 tires still hasn't pitted. He's the only one of the field that still has to pit, and he's running out in front. Although, if he were to pit, I would expect him to probably come out behind Weberholzer. And as I say that, he's going into the pit. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Weberholzer and see what happens there. Although Weberholzer is going to have a very comfortable overtake here on Corne Briet, but the man.
But well done for holding those tires for 21 laps, eh?
Yeah, no, he's been looking after them very nicely. Although I think with his experience in downforce cars, he might have been able to switch on his aero quite nicely and make sure that he doesn't have unnecessary scrubbing of his tires. So let's see, Mitchell is down the Hamilton straight. Is Britt going to come out in front of him or behind him? And unfortunately, Britt only coming out of the pits now. So coming out behind Mitchell. But I still think that's worked out well for him. Now we have to see what he's able to do on these tires. Weberholzer putting pressure on Ruben Creer.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we've got Rian Uberholzer with Sector 1, best personal time of the race. We've got also got Raymond Duggan, Sector 3, best personal time, as well as Carl Heidemann and Gijsberg Nagel, Sector 1. So things are definitely changing up here.
The one thing I do want us to keep to pay attention to, Creer is running the harder tire. He's running the C2, so he might have a bit more life in his tires. Although if Weberholzer can make these tires work, then that might the gamble might just pay off for him. I know it's a very unorthodox strategy, running short on your hardest tires and then running long on your softer tires. But if he can make it work, then that early pit stop might not have hurt him as badly as we thought it might have. I see the back markers slightly affecting Weberholzer, so he's had to fall back a bit to ensure that he gets past them safely. But you can see the times already tumbling down, the pressure mounting for Ruben Creer. Steinman, unfortunately, Atti Nagel having a bit of a rough time.
It looks like Nagel's got a bit of an issue there, but I'm not sure if it's Steinman or Sneyman. Either way, we just had him, and I'm not sure if it was Cook or Nagel. They just put in their personal best lap of the race. Again, that's amazing because it's all about strategy.
Yeah, and it's tricky when you're this limited by your pit stop, because you do need to utilize two compounds, and your opposition don't really know what you're going to do, or actually your opposition can kind of figure out what you're doing based on your tires. But it is tricky to then do anything interesting with that, because you're either forced into an overcut, a balanced pit stop, or undercut. And I don't think the undercut will really help you on this track. So Weberholzer just under a second, or just less than a second between him and Creer as they go down the Wellington Straight and into Brooklyn. So it's going to be interesting to see how much time Weberholzer can gain here under braking. Taking a very late apex, ensuring that he can carry some speed through Luffield here. So he's caught up right behind Krier. I think Krier might have a bit less grip at this stage of the race. So overall, just making sure that Krier knows he's there. But I don't think Oberholzer wants to make any kind of move through the section. Krier looking really fast through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. And Ruan making use of his DRS. So of course, within 1 second you've got DRS available for you. And I think that's just helped him make up for that time deficiency in the middle sector. Krier running a bit wide out of Stowe. And it might cost him a bit of time. So down the Hamilton straight we go. Krier leading the race. Lapping slower than Wibberholzer. I don't know whether he's just trying to manage the gap up to this point, but it's not really wise keeping another car in your DRS zone. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Krier is able to defend from this. We know that Wibberholzer is very good in this first sector. He's got DRS open. He's running up the outside. And that's been his previous line for Luffield. So he's just keeping up and then slightly losing out on the middle sector. Right. Still the closest battle on track, and this is where we're going to stay. Through Cops. Just nice and fast. Both cars running wide. You need to be careful. You can get a penalty if you make too many track cuts. But I think both of these drivers are seeing red at the moment. They just want to make sure that they keep a hold of their position. Deploy into the pits. So I think that might be his second one for the race. I think he might be having some. He might have some damage. Overalls are looking on the inside, not really finding the speed. But Krier definitely looking a bit out of sorts. Still holding on to his position. But now we go into the Hamilton straight, and it's DRS for Wibberholzer. Is he going to be able to use it? Doesn't look that way. That's a bit strange. It might be that the DRS zone is situated elsewhere. Wibberholzer on the outside of Village. That's not going to happen. Into the loop. You can see him hanging back, but he's going to try and get the inside position. They're on the Wellington straight. Side by side. Getting ready for Brooklyn's round tucks in behind Krier. Now out on the inside. Krier forced to give the corner there to Wibberholzer. And Wibberholzer charges on ahead into the lead. This is a really nice battle between these two drivers. What's your opinion, Timo?
Insane. It's so difficult to keep these cars in a straight line and to compensate for whoever's on your left or right. Amazing driving. Well done, guys.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing. So, the scrap going on through Beckett's. I've not seen cars drive that close through that sector yet. So that's the thing that differentiates the guys that are doing hot laps, the guys who have some good racing experience. You need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the racing craft that we're talking about. That's where instinct kicks in. That's where observation kicks in. You just in an absolute different concentration level once you're in this situation. And to see these guys doing this online, it's amazing. I thoroughly enjoy this.
Yeah, it's nice to see this battle continuing. Krier not giving up. He knows he can keep up with Wibberholzer. We know these drivers are well matched. And they're going to be challenging one another. Further down, we see Jonkers also closing in on Mitchell. So we'll also be keeping an eye on that gap. It does seem like Krier, unfortunately, had a bit of a spin-off. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But if you do push to the limit, at some point you are going to find it. So let's jump to Jonkers. Let's see what he's doing with Mitchell. So Mitchell currently has a back marker in front of him, so he's got in traffic. And that's opened up or that's given an opportunity to Jonkers. Jonkers making the pass on the inside of Club. Some really nice driving there. Into Abbey he goes and comfortably into 6th position. So some good driving there from the man in the Ferrari livery. That's
Yep.
that's
well
Carlos
done.
Sainz's car.
Yep, correct. And I see Carlos has also passed Deploy. Deploy is back in the pits. I think he's got some other technical difficulties. Deploy is absolutely amazing driver, by the way, in the V8 series that we do have. So I'm not sure if he's got some technical difficulty there, but yeah, great driver.
Definitely, yeah. He has also sacrificed a lot of his time to help us prepare for this Grand Prix. So it's it might have affected him a little bit. Right. Almost near the end. So Webber are sitting very comfortably in the lead at the moment. I don't want to give it a commentator's curse, so it's going to be all up to him.
Yeah, it's also a career in Briat, Duncan Mitchell also in the race, but if I just look at the timing tables, we've got Gideon Jonkers as well as Gert Snyman and Jovan Oostenhuizen. They're doing green sectors, which means that's their personal best. So yeah, they're still pushing it right up until the end.
You just need to be careful with this little laps to go. How hard do you want to push? And whether it might be worth it. A man that might be on the push, Gideon Jonker. He knows Mitchell is very close by, so he's going to be there to pick up the pieces if something happens. That Alfa Romeo just looming in the horizon as they go into Brooklands.
I can't believe it's only one lap left. I would have liked another 30. It's amazing to see this racing.
Definitely, I would definitely not have minded to commentate a bit longer. And it's like the sprint racing earlier today. It feels like we just got started and everything's now finished. But yeah, we're on the final lap. So I'll just have a quick look. Overalls are going onto the Wellington straight and into Brooklyn. Behind him, Creer is in a bit of traffic, so that's definitely going to hurt him in trying to catch up with overalls.
Look at that, Corne Breed, fastest lap, can you believe it?
So definitely a man on a charge. Tja, well done to him. So yeah, unfortunately I think, yes, we do have a few retirements, but most of the pack making it through cleanly. I think most of the drivers were their own worst enemies. Some nice clean racing from what we were able to see. No shunts, no punts. Definitely some A-class racing. But yeah, so Webber are coming through the back portion of the circuit into Vale. Just a few more turns and he's secured victory for himself. So into Club Corner. He's comfortably rounding the corner and does a little victory wiggle. So congratulations to you, Mr. Webber. Ruben Creer also bringing it home in second. Corne Breed rounding the back of the grid in third. And we see Mitchell and Jonkers actually swapping positions. So Jonkers making the pass at the last minute. I'm really sorry that I missed that, but these drivers fighting up until the end. Yeah, Raymond Duggan looking good for rounding off the grid at 4. And then we've still got these two coming in. So Mitchell not giving up at all, making sure that he's there if there's a mistake from Jonkers. And we'll be fighting until the bitter end here, getting very close. Through Club they go. And oh, there is massive amounts of oversteer from Jonkers. There's Mitchell securing 5th position. I'm not exactly sure why he's topping. I think he might feel like he's caused an accident there and might be giving the position back. So sticking to the gentleman's agreement, making sure that he doesn't win based on shoving another driver off track, but making sure that he wins based on skill.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there were any contact there.
It
Yeah, but
might have.
knowing Dennis Mitchell, he's a gentleman, so probably there was something happening before that. Yeah.
And we've got some victory donuts coming here from Dirk Brandt and one of the other drivers. I'm quickly going to see if I can get Rian in a chat with me. So I'll just put on some of the ads, and then we'll be back with you shortly. One. All right, so we've got Rian Uberholzer here with us uh, in the communication channel. So Rian, there was a stellar drive from you. We were watching you all the way, and that was an amazing battle between you and Krier. What was that race like for you?
Yes, I was telling Ruben that was one of the best battles I've ever had with him specifically because I know we've got a history, me and him, of touching when we race wheel to wheel, and we both were very nervous, but it turned out awesome. It was a fantastic race.
Yeah, no, I saw you giving each other a nice amount of space and just making sure that you don't crash into one another and still have a good battle. I saw you were on the harder tires at the start of the race, and then pitted early. Did you pit for damage, or was that a strategy call where you realized that you just weren't making the harder tires work?
Yeah, the tires were falling off much quicker than I anticipated, and then when Ruben pitted also, I thought, maybe I must just go in and get it over with, because it was generally the fall off is crazy. It's like within a lap you fall completely out of it.
So yeah, that's a bit odd since you were running the C2s first,
Yes,
which is the
exactly.
medium.
I was planning on going long, but I don't know, something during the race caused that my tire wear was above normal. I don't know why. But it just I don't know, maybe it was the battling or but they didn't last as long as I thought they would. Well, not under my hands anyway.
Yeah, we saw those times start tumbling down once you got onto the soft. So I think that was exactly what you needed. But yeah, some solid racing from that. Just a question. So you've raced in F3s, but these F1 cars, how do they compare to your, I'd say your smaller cars between double quotation marks?
Oh, my man, this is it took me a while to get used to the grip that you have with these cars because they stick. They stick. Sometimes it feels unreal how much you can actually throw it into the corner and it sticks, you know? I'm so used to the F3s where you still have to give a bit of, leniency towards that, but this one you can just throw in. Okay, well, a few times I overcooked it because then you get too comfortable, then it brings you back to earth. But yeah, these things are very quick. Oh, I love them.
I have to chip in, Rian. Well done on
Thank
the
you, man.
victory. That's absolutely amazing. I'm looking at the times here, and I'm looking at the top speeds. I think you've got a 305.53 kilometers an hour, which is a little bit slower than the other guys. But that just shows that you're a lot more competitive within the corners. So you
Yeah.
obviously have a good feel for this car in the corners.
Yes, I do. And I actually ran a bit of a higher aero package during the race because I know normally you should run a lower aero package in a race so you can get some overtaking done. But I chose to do higher because I feel more comfortable with with more downforce.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
But
And
not being on the knife edge, you know?
yeah, sorry, Jan. And that obviously at the end of the day, it pays off with your consistency. So well
Mm,
done.
yes.
yeah, we have a wonderful move where you just had this nice outbraking maneuver into Vale on one of the Ferraris you were kind of toying with before the pit stop.
Going,
I say toying with. It looked like you guys were kind of going to and fro, and you were pushing him to kind of burn out his tires. But yeah, it's been nice. Just one last thing before we go. I already know the answer for this, but what do you think? Well, I know what your answer is going to be to this, but how do you think what's going to happen at tomorrow's race, or what do you want to happen?
This is gonna spark some major controversy again. My phone's gonna blow up, but I'm Hamilton all the way.
And I put you up there for a reason, but yeah, we'll see. You're with the British fans, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm looking forward to one hell of a battle.
Get in there, Lewis.
Yes, Lewis.
But yeah, for everyone that's been watching, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to Monet Deploy for making all of the wonderful video material for us. We're going to be back tomorrow night. As you can see in front of you, it's the Aussie V8s, as we call them. So tomorrow at 8, we've got practice starting, and normally the stream starts about, say, 15 minutes after that. So yeah, as you can say, live at 8:15 South African Standard Time. That's GMT +2 for you international folks. So that's also going to be a ton of fun, and you'll see Mr. Timo Smith that's been with me in the booth. He's going to be racing there. Dennis Mitchell is going to be there, and a whole host of other drivers. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support, and we hope to see you for the next one. Hope you have a good night.